federal judge has blocked U.S. President Donald Trump's executive order aimed at ending birthright citizenship for children born to foreign nationals in the U.S. During a hearing in Seattle, district judge issued a temporary restraining order halting the president's plan. The statue of British naval officer James Cook in Sydney's Randwick suburb was vandalized. The statue's hand and nose were severed and it was covered in red paint, in fact. New South Wales police are investigating the incident and have collected evidence from the site. Now, the statue, recently restored after a similar vandalism last year, has once again become a focal point. This has just come days before Australia Day. It's a controversial holiday marking British settlement on the 26th of January. The U.S. Senate narrowly voted to advance the nomination of Pete Hegseth, a former Fox News host and military veteran, to be President Donald Trump's Secretary of Defense, clearing the way for a vote on his confirmation later this week. The tally was 51-49 in the 100-member Senate on a procedural measure, in fact, to end debate, as all but two of Trump's fellow Republicans voted in favor of moving ahead on the nomination despite new allegations about his personal conduct. A final vote on his nomination is expected late Friday. Israel's deadly raid in Jenin has entered its third day, with its forcing issuing a forced evacuation threat to residents of the refugee camp in the city. Hundreds of Palestinians in Jenin refugee camp started leaving their homes. Israeli security forces, backed by helicopters, raided the volatile West Bank city of Jenin on Tuesday, killing at least 9 Palestinians in what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called a large-scale and significant military operation. The huge fire burning north of Los Angeles has grown to over 10,000 acres amid strong winds and dry conditions. Firefighters are battling a fast-moving blaze in Southern California that has swelled over the past day, with authorities warning that it's, quote-unquote, the period of greatest concern. Tens of thousands have evacuated already. The fire is only 14% contained. Yes, it's only 14% contained, and crews face additional challenges from Santa Ana winds reaching up to 65 miles per hour. Two other major fires, the Palisades and the Eaton, are also threatening nearby areas. Meanwhile, rain is forecast over the weekend, offering potential relief for firefighters and residents. California will spend $2.5 billion to help the Los Angeles area recover from the recent deadly wildfires under a relief package approved Thursday by state lawmakers. Now, both Democrats and Republicans supported the bills, and Democrat Governor Gavin Newsom signed the package. Listen in. California Governor.
I want to thank the Speaker and the Pro Tem for their fierce sense of urgency to move this forward, to the budget chairs that are here. I want to thank them. I want to thank everybody that cleared the deck, didn't play politics with this, that recognized that people are in need. And as the pastor reminded me and others the other day when we had a faith meeting, people feel helpless, but not everybody feels hopeless. And I think this is about distilling a sense of hopefulness. This money will be made available immediately, $2.5 billion, as was said by the Speaker, for ongoing operations and disaster recovery, debris removal, work on logistics, traffic management, address all the myriad of issues that we're facing in real time.
In a significant development, the International Criminal Court, or the ICC, has sought arrest warrants for 2 senior Taliban leaders in Afghanistan. It is accusing them of crimes against humanity related to the persecution of women and especially girls. The ICC prosecutor has applied for, in fact, warrants for Hibatullah, the supreme spiritual leader of the Taliban, and Abdul Hakim Haqqani, the chief justice in the country. Both men are accused of being responsible for discriminating against women and girls across the country since the Taliban took control in 2021. Now, this includes severe restrictions on education, employment, and even the freedom of movement. The ICC will now review the request, and a decision from a 3-judge panel is expected within the next few months. Listen in to ICC prosecutor.
After a thorough investigation, and on the basis of evidence collected, my office submits that there are reasonable grounds to believe that the Supreme Leader of the Taliban, Hibatullah Akhundzada, and the Chief Justice of the so-called Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, Abdul Hakim Haqqani, bear criminal responsibility for the crime against humanity of persecution on gender grounds under Article 71H of the Rome Statute.
Thousands of Mexicans took to the streets to protest the killing of 2 children in an attempted carjacking in Mexico's troubled northwestern state of Sinaloa. Mothers and children were among those calling for an end to months of cartel violence that has at times closed schools and businesses in the state capital, Culiacan. A small group of protesters forced their way into the offices of Sinaloa Governor Ruben Roca, thrashing them and demanding his resignation. Now, Roca is a close ally of former President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, has been unable to control his state's violence despite the deployment of additional troops. Over in West Asia, Hezbollah has warned against any delays, demanding full compliance with the ceasefire agreement. This as Israel's 60-day deadline to withdraw from the Lebanese territory approaches its end. In a statement, the armed group has stressed that the withdrawal must be completed without quote-unquote exceptions. In response to reports that Israel might seek to extend its presence in Lebanon, Hezbollah has urged the Lebanese government to in fact press the agreement sponsors to ensure the deadline is met. It called for close monitoring of the final phase of the pullout, the full deployment of the Lebanese army, and the swift return of displaced residents. US President Donald Trump has warned the world's political and business leaders gathered in Davos to manufacture in the US or face tariffs. Trump threatened widespread tariffs on foreign goods and said the OPEC is partly to blame for the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. This was during an address to the attendees at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Listen in.
My message to every business in the world is very simple. Come make your product in America, and we will give you among the lowest taxes of any nation on earth. We're bringing them down very substantially, even from the original Trump tax cuts. But if you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, then very simply you will have to pay a tariff, differing amounts, but a tariff which will direct hundreds of billions of dollars and even trillions of dollars into our treasury to strengthen our economy and pay down debt.
India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri is set to travel to Beijing on the 26th and the 27th of January to resume bilateral talks with China. Now, this comes following the disengagement at the India-China border. The visit will mark the first Foreign Secretary-level meeting between the two nations since the 2020 border standoff. Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto arrived in the national capital, New Delhi, on his first state visit to India. The Ministry of External Affairs said that the visit will further strengthen the India-Indonesia comprehensive strategic partnership. Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan has called off reconciliatory talks with the government on Thursday. This comes a week after a court handed him a 14-year jail term on graft charges, his party's chairman has said. The graft case is the largest that Khan faces in terms of financial impropriety. Khan has called off negotiations, the party's chairman told local media. A teenager who killed 3 girls and wounded, in fact, 10 others in a knife attack at a dance studio in England's Southport has been sentenced to life in prison. Axel Rudakubana, now 18, must serve at least 52 years in prison before being eligible for even a parole. The July 29th attack shocked the nation. Judge Julian Goose, meanwhile, called the attack, quote-unquote, profoundly damaging to the victims, their families, and the larger community. Alex Rudakubana has pledged guilty to multiple charges. Now, these include murder and attempted murder. US Vice President, in fact, J.D. Vance swears in John Ratcliffe as the new director of the Central Intelligence Agency, or the CIA, as it's popularly known. The Senate confirmed Ratcliffe with 74 to 25 votes, giving President Donald Trump the second member of his new cabinet, or the Trump.2 cabinet. Ratcliffe is the Director of National Intelligence during Trump's first term and is the first person, in fact, to have held that position and the top post at the CIA, the nation's premier spy agency. The Texas Republican is a former federal prosecutor who emerged as a fierce Trump defender while serving as a congressman during Trump's first impeachment trial. Take a listen.
I'm thrilled to be joined, of course, by our incoming Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, John Ratcliffe, as well as his lovely wife, Michelle. And I will say that John is a great patriot, a guy that has the trust of the President, and I think really believes deeply in the mission, first of all, of keeping Americans safe, but also doing it in a way that ensures that the American people have confidence in our national intelligence services. And both of those things really